I want to get into. We'll start off talking a little. We're obviously going to talk Niners
Yeah.
as we do on the stream. But today, Brandon Aiyuk talked at his locker, and one of the things he said was that other teams are defending the 49ers a little bit different. He says they just know what we want to do, what we like to do, me and Purdy especially. And it's interesting because there's some stats out that show that Aiyuk is separating pretty well, at least did this last week from opposing defenses. And then I'll give you an example. His 46.9% separation win rate in week 3 against the Rams was the highest of any individual receiver all year. But he was only targeted 10 times and he only caught 5 of the 10 balls. But then you look at these other numbers, his separation per target over 3 games over the entirety of the season so far is third worst in the NFL when targeted. So that the separation per target means that when you're targeted, what's your separation? And his is the third worst in the NFL. The number that you can't run from is the 49ers last year were the 5th best team in the NFL as far as yards after the catch.
Yeah.
And they're second worst in the NFL in yards after the catch. So what do you make of what you're seeing from Brandon Aiyuk? Is Aiyuk getting separation and Purdy's not getting in the ball?
No, man.
Or do you think that he's not getting separation consistently? I mean, Baldy says he looks kind of pedestrian, and I think that's pretty perfectly said.
I agree with Baldy, Krugs. I mean, first of all, watching that game last week, going into the Rams game, I expected that to be kind of the breakout game for Brandon Aiyuk. It was set up for him, really. Turned out to be Juwan Jennings again. He's becoming like the guy right now without Debo and Kittle. And Aiyuk is in a funker. I don't know what's going on with him, but let's talk about it because, yeah, he's getting separation. Yeah, Brock is throwing to him. And again, dude, I think he had 2 or 3. You could argue there were 3 balls he dropped he could have and maybe even should have caught. I mean, Krug, they say in the NFL, if the ball hits you in the hands, NFL wide receiver should make that catch. And I mean, he did. He dropped a couple more this week. And it's like, it's time for him to start playing. I mean, just straight up, I don't know how else to say it. There's no way to sugarcoat it, man. When you hang out, when you hold out for the big money and then your team rewards you with the contract you were holding out for and showers the big money, you got to show up. You got to perform, man. And right now, I mean, I'm not happy with Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, I'm just not. I mean, I would grade him very harshly. And I expect, I mean, again, here comes a team. This is a totally winnable game for the 49ers. And again, I expected it last week. It didn't happen, Krug. Now I'm saying it's got to happen. He needs to have a strong performance on Sunday just to kind of reestablish himself.
I agree. I'll tell you the other thing that is a little bit surprising about Aiyuk's struggles. They don't coincide with Purdy's struggles. Like Purdy's not struggling. I'm looking at Purdy's numbers, Paulie. Purdy is playing incredible football. He's 4th in the league in QBR.
Yeah.
He's 2nd in the league in passing yards. He's 2nd in the league in yards per attempt. He's 3rd in the league in air yards per attempt. He's 4th in passing touchdowns. He's 7th in completion percentage with a 72% completion percentage. It's hard to believe that's 7th.
Right.
And his completion percentage over expectation, which factors in your opponent, is number 1 in the NFL. So Purdy's playing great, and yet Aiyuk, Aiyuk's PFF grade this year is 62.8. His PFF grade last year was 92.3.
Yeah,
I mean, he's quite a bit beneath where he was a year ago.
And I don't know.
He's got to get it going, man.
Yeah, no, he has to. Krug, he has to. I mean, not only for his sake, but for the sake of the entire team. I mean, it's time. It's time for him to show up. And again, it's what strikes me as odd about Brandon Aiyuk. And for the record, Krug, just for the record, I've been a fan of this guy. I have liked Brandon Aiyuk since he came in from ASU and the early days when Shanahan was really tough on him. He kept hearing, "Oh, he's in the doghouse." Well, whatever that was at the beginning when he first came into the league, he and Shanahan worked it out. He earned Shanahan's respect. He kind of emerged as, if not the go-to guy, certainly one of the go-to guys for the 49ers last year. But the thing that's odd to me, Krug, the performance is off. But this might be me, and maybe I'm reading too deep into it, Krug, but do you sense his attitude is a little off too? And again, that could be me looking a little bit too hard. But when I see him in front of his locker, when I see his post-game pressers, he's talking to the media, he seems, I don't know, he just doesn't seem as present as he was, if that's the right word. Do you get a sense of any of that, or is that me?
You know, there's something there. Okay. There's something there. Now, that's an interesting word, present.
Yeah,
Um, he does seem a little okay. I mean, and this is maybe if like, some things you observe and other things you like, there's facts that and then you're like, oh, well, then you kind of think that you see something. We know that he signed for a big money deal. We know he signed for $76 million guaranteed and $30 million a year. So he's got a huge amount of money came his way. I think like if you said to me, what did we see last summer? We saw a guy who was absolutely starving, hungry,
great call.
determined.
Yeah,
And I just feel like they paid him and they just took away all of that hunger, all of that determination, all
boy,
of that motivation. It's like trying to get, super fired up after something that just was great. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I mean, are you super, I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of comparisons I can make, but it's a family show.
No, I got you, man. Yes,
You know what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes you fire, sometimes you fire your shot and you're not the same, you don't have the same fire.
Hey, certain appetites, man, certain appetites, once those appetites are realized, it's harder to go back to the buffet right away. I got to have a little downtime. You know what I'm saying, Krug? I got to recharge. Yeah.
No, but you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I do.
My grandfather, who, was not, not a big part of my life. He died when I was like 6 or 7, but he was my best buddy as a kid. But my dad used to tell me my grandfather was he worked at the Muni as a cable car grip man.
Nice.
Right. That's what he did after World War I.
Nice.
And then he graduated out of that into being like the guy in the office. And so he would be the guy who would, basically, hey, I need this bus driver. I need this cable car driver. And he would call these guys. And, supposedly he used to say to some of these bus drivers, hey, you know what? You got all the wrinkles out of your belly. In other words, now, that was like an old saying from like, the Depression times. It's like, when you're basically, in other words, you're no longer hungry.
Right.
You've lost that hunger.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like they took his hunger and they just sat and they just took it away from him because they gave him more money than he's ever dreamt of having. He's got wealth beyond his wildest dreams. And, is it possible that they took away some of his motivation? I mean, not that he's not trying, but come on, we all know when it's do or die as opposed to when we've got guaranteed money.
Right.
I mean, you see it in baseball every year, Paulie.
Oh, totally.
The Giants year when they won 107,
yeah.
the San Francisco Giants, they had like 18 of their 25 guys on the roster were like free agents or didn't know where they were going at the end of the year. So you had a very motivated Giant team. 18 of the 25 guys were motivated by, hey, where am I going to get my next paycheck next year? And they had a 107 win year. And I just kind of think that that's one of the things that nobody ever talks about. When you pay guys, unless they're just the ultimate of pros, there's going to be a little bit of a letdown, a little bit of a, oh, I did it. I just don't believe that you work as hard when you have everything you want, as opposed to the pursuit of everything you want.
No, dude, great analogy, Krug. And it's like, we see the same thing in radio. I think any industry, really, any business.
Yeah.
I think that competition will breed great performance in most scenarios when you got guys that are hungry, like you said. And Kruger, in a nutshell, dude, we need some 49ers with some wrinkles in their belly, dude. Give me some wrinkles out here, man.
Exactly.
Shout out to your grandpa. That's a great saying, and I love that he worked on the cable cars. That's awesome. I love old school San Francisco stuff. But so if Aiyuk in the previous years was competing, he was competing with the spotlight. He's competing for touches with guys like Kittle, guys like Debo. These are big marquee names in the NFL. And he, like you said, last year, starving. The hunger was obvious. He had glue in his hands, man. He was catching everything brought through to him. So now that he's been rewarded, maybe the competition is himself. Maybe he's got to compete with his that voice. If there's a complacency voice inside him, and I'm not saying there is, but if he feels satisfied on some level, like, hey, I got paid, now I can just, kind of play it out, which I don't think is the case. I think he wants to win. But if that, you got to find motivation, however you got to find it. All the great ones will say that. Jerry Rice, used to compete with himself. I've heard him say things like that. So Aiyuk, look, he's a pro, man. He's going to have to find different ways to motivate himself. And Larry, you mentioned, I just want to pick your brain on this for a second too. Yeah. You mentioned like guys need to step up when it's do or die time. And I'm telling you, man, I have noticed we're going into week 4 of the season. Niner fans panic so fast now. Like, we still got 14 games, man. There's a lot of football left. And I know it was ugly, and there have been 2 games that were ugly and bad special teams mishaps and questionable coverage in the secondary, on and on and on. But at the same time, Krug, did guys panic like this when we were younger? Help me remember. During the Montana Young era, did people flip out?
They did panic. I mean, there was a lot of panic. If the 49ers ever lost in the 80s or 90s, it was like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Yeah. But it was a different time and the expectations were incredibly high, but now the expectations are equally high, I would say, because of what their recent success. The question I would have is, why does everybody have to go immediately? Not everybody, but why does it have to go to, Shanahan's got to go?
That's what I'm saying. No, totally. Yes.
I mean, it's like, I don't remember, okay, so there were a lot of people that were pissed off when the Niners lost back in the day. I don't remember this avalanche of Seifert's got to go or Walsh has got to go.
Right.
Sometimes it was Tressman. It was the bit players. Hey, Tressman's got to go. Or remember Eddie D at the presser at the end of the year, and someone like 7th question in.
Yeah.
What about Tressman? And he grabs the mic. He's like, yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah,
he's gone.
Just screaming out right in the front. I don't even think Tressman
is he alive? Is he still alive? I mean,
you won't see him anymore. We fitted him for cement shoes. Yeah, you won't see him.
Is he buried in New Jersey under the Bada Bing? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Dude, he's right next to Jimmy Hoffa. You know what I mean? In the cement. Yeah, right.
I mean, he's gone. We won't be hearing from him anytime soon.
No, but your point is right on the money, and that's kind of what I was saying. Like, I sense more panic and more freak out after these 2 losses. But again, Krugs, I mean, like I said at the beginning, let's move those 3 games aside. They got a game Sunday with the Patriots. This is a game I want to see the Niners win by double digits. Don't just win this game. Put your foot down and start acting like the 49ers again.